So we finally got the patch notes, and brace yourself. This is going to be a bumpy ride. We got the patch notes, and we are not going to go through the 50 plus pages of changes. There is a ton here. We covered it on the live stream. This would just take hours and hours and hours. I'm not going to summarize it either because I have to say it was pretty sweeping. And this image basically summarizes the patch notes. Literally everything in the game got nerfed. Almost everything. Basically, Path of Exile 2 has been flipped on its head. The game is going to be completely different on Friday. And I have to say, there's been a lot of reaction to these nerfs and all the changes. It's unbelievable. Like, the memes are just flying left, right, and center. Now, I don't want to focus in on the nerfs. At the end of the day, Grinding Gear Games did what they said they were going to do. And that was the fact when we had the live reveal, they did say there's going to be nerfs incoming, and what you think is going to get nerfed is probably going to get nerfed. Now, we can talk about Grim Feast being removed. We can talk about all the nerfs class by class. But what is alarming is not what they did, but how they did it. You know, in the past, Jonathan has always stated that they would nerf the outliers in the game. But this patch on Friday that's going to be live with Donna the Hunt, this was not a strategical, surgical nerf. This was a carpet bombing, a blanket nerf, hitting almost everything in the game. Now, again, I understand Grinding Gear Games was not happy with the state of the game out of the chute in early access. It literally, I guess, reminded them of how Path of Exile is. You know, screen blasters, you know, zoomy builds. And personally, I feel in the long run, this is needed because it's clear that, like I said, Grinding Gear Games doesn't want screen blasters and, you know, fast zoomy builds. And this is confirmed by the fact every time we hear Grinding Gear Games describe Path of Exile 2, it's the terminology that they use when they're talking about the game. And the one that sticks out the most to me is how they phrase that they want the game to have engaging and meaningful combat. I think this is the inspiration behind this patch. And I get it. Path of Exile 2 is not supposed to be a shinier version of Path of Exile 1. It has to stand on its own merit, and it has to be different. But this is where the plot thickens. Path of Exile players are very smart and will always find a workaround. It may be more difficult starting this Friday, but I'm pretty confident the top players will find a loophole and manage to create broken builds again. I know right now the sky is falling and everybody is spiraling and saying, you know, nothing's viable. They've grinded the game to a halt. You know, the ailments issue, the stuns issue, everything is slowed to a grinding halt. That's been some of the rhetoric out there. But I'm not concerned about that per se, because at the end of the day, we still have to play the game. Everybody is giving their opinion on what they think is going to happen, but we're really not going to know until we get our hands on the game this Friday. So I'm going to put that on the shelf and reserve my judgment on whether the game is not playable or not. I will not make that comment until I actually play the game. So we'll put that on the shelf. But I have to say, what really has piqued my curiosity is the following. Now, Grinding Your Games has flipped this game on its head. It wasn't happy with how it came out, and it Grinding Your Games clearly has a vision, right? They want engaging and meaningful combat. And these patch notes, scream that. But what I'm interested in is this constant tug of war between Grinding Gear Games wanting to make meaningful and engaging combat and players not wanting to adhere to that and try to make broken builds to kind of circumvent the, dare I say, slower play style, of the game. So is Grinding Gear Games going to continue to flip the game on its head in the future? Or are they going to relent to the player base that continues to find loopholes in everything that they try to nerf? And at the end of the day, they end up coming up again with broken builds that circumvent, make the game quicker. And it's not just about speed, guys. It's also at the rate that you're killing enemies. It's at the rate of when you're engaging in combat. This is not purely speed, fast and slow. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the whole engagement of playstyle. Yes, speed is part of that, but combat, engaging in combat, the speed at which you clear mobs and kill mobs, kill bosses, that yin and yang, that back and forth between Grinding Gear Games and the players that are gonna find and build broken builds, and the player base gravitates to it. Everybody wants to play the meta build. Not everybody. There's a big population of the player base that like to make unique their own builds. I get it. But for the most part, this is a herd mentality when it comes to builds. The herd typically want to play the meta builds that the top 1% of the player base is playing and is broken. So this is what I am very interested in seeing in the future. This constant tug of war between how determined Grinding Gear Games is going to be when it comes to these broken builds coming out and shining in every league. Are they going to continue to flip the game on its head to bring it back to the engaging and meaningful combat? It's this battle that is what interests me. As far as what Friday is going to be like and what Dawn of the Hunt, and there's already the memes out there, Dawn of the Nerf, all that stuff, nobody knows nothing right now. Yes, everyone has their opinion on what is going to happen on Friday. Some are saying it's going to be a disaster. Some are going to say it's good. This needed to happen. And then you have people in between. I am taking the wait and see approach. And at the end of the day, guys, it's very simple when it comes to video games. And everyone can kind of stop whining. You're complaining about the food you're eating, and the food's not even at the table yet, you know? So at the end of the day, it's very simple. Come Friday, if you try the game and you don't like it, leave. Play another game. If you try it Friday and you like it, then you'll continue to play it. So it's very simple. If you like it, play it. If you don't like it, play something else. There's other games out there. It really is that simple. And I know this might sound like something crazy, but it really is that simple. It's your choice. You play it or you don't play it. There's other games out there. But to me, obviously, this was, I think this was a lot more of a hammer than people expected. Everyone was expecting a hammer, but this was a carpet bombing. it was a carpet bombing. But I think for the long-term viability of this game, I think it needed to happen, unfortunately. And it hurts. When you rip the whole band-aid off all at once, it's going to hurt. And I think it's necessary pain for the future, because I come from the opinion that I do not want a shiny version of Path of Exile. I want a new, unique, different game. I want Path of Exile 2 to be different than Path of Exile. I love the difficulty in Path of Exile 2. I love the engaging and meaningful combat. What I don't want to see is cringe in the game. What I don't want to see is them put no fun content or mechanics in the game. That is what I'll be looking out for. And if that's in the game in patch 0.2, then I will definitely be having an issue with that. But I'm going to reserve judgment until I actually eat the food and play the game, so to speak, if that makes any sense. I'm going to reserve judgment on that. But to make Path of Exile 2 different than Path of Exile, this needed to happen, unfortunately. I don't like it, like you guys, but it needed to happen. And sometimes, no pain, no gain. That's the way I'm looking at it. Anyway, let me know what you think. Look, there's a shit ton of items that we could have talked about, and there are videos out there already covering every single major mechanic and all the nerfs, but there's no lack of content from that. I wanted to talk, and I always like to talk about the short to long term strategy of the games that I talk about. So I think this needed to happen, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Grinding Gear Games deals with this in the future, like I said earlier. So let me know what you thought about the patch notes. What are you thinking? Are you happy? Are you frustrated? I know a lot of people are boiling. Where do you sit on this? Has this enticed you to come and play and you weren't going to try it? Were you going to play it, and now that you saw the patch notes, you're definitely out? What do you think? I can tell you one thing, and again, this is just a perception, right? 11th Hour Games is probably kicking themselves of changing the date, because I tell you one thing, they were popping bottles of champagne because, again, I'm not saying it's right, but there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of negativity. And this is, you know, in 11th Hour Games perspective, this is probably the best thing that could have happened, because a lot of people are not going to take this nerf hammer good and be very negative towards GGG. I'm not saying it's warranted. I'm just telling you, if I'm 11th Hour Games and I saw those patch notes and the reaction to it from some of the player base, I instantly went out and bought 10 bottles of champagne, invited everyone to the office, and started celebrating, because this is going to drive a lot of players to Last Epoch on April 17th. At least that's what I think. But let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear them. And guys, just everyone calm down. Wait till you play the game if you're going to try it. That's all I'm saying. And at the end of the day, if you like it, you play it. If you don't like it, you're going to go play something else. That's all. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. And as always, we'll hope to see you next time. By the way, I will be live streaming patch 0.2 on Friday. As soon as it drops, I'll be on probably an hour before. So come and check me out on Twitch. Channel name is SamyCaps. All right, everybody, get in the comments section. Let me know what you think about the patch notes, and we'll see you next time. Take care. The opinions expressed in this video are mine and solely mine. Healthy debate is always encouraged. Hate is never welcomed. So get over it.